halfway through the split, and I think none of us are any the wiser, really, who's going to get on into playoffs. I'm Medic, this is Vedius, and we are ready for the first game of the day. Great to be back in the studio for Vitality versus SK Gaming.
Yeah, how can we not be? SK and Vitality have had a pretty interesting first half to the split, Medic. I think both of us were pretty surprised how they came out the gate swinging. They got some surprising upsets. They've been a little inconsistent, I think is fair to say. And now as we move into the second half, what we're looking for from both these teams and all of our teams here in the LEC is to figure out who is at the top, who is at the bottom, and if we could get a little bit more structure in our standings.
I think it's going to take a little while for us to figure that out completely. I think we can say Schalke is at the bottom, Mad Lions and Rogue are at the top, and then everyone in the middle is kind of just a heebie-jeebie mess. It's a bit of a muddle.
I mean, what's fascinating is I still remember when G2 and Misfits, I think it was, were sitting there at 6-0, coming near the first half of the split, and then as you moved into the second half, that Misfits roster just went completely in the other direction. So we're playing on a new patch, as the analyst was talking about. We've got the players having a week off, which is also pretty new for all these teams, an ability to have that mental reset, take a bit of a break, come back in with a new mindset, ready to go. So we'll see how much it impacts them. Will we see a little bit more consistency? What will we see on the Rift today? We're going to find out as we jump into picks and bans for Game 1.
I'm looking forward to it. Vedius SK will have needed that break, a 3-game losing streak since they last were able to pick up a win here in the LEC. In fact, Vitality were the team to start that losing streak for SK all the way back in week 3. The last time these two teams met, we had a few team fights, had a bit of early action in the bottom lane. We'll see how they decide to draft today. Of course, it's important to mention that Skeanz is in for Vitality, replacing NG. He's played with the squad before, and they just decided to bolster up their team once again.
Now, one of the things that Duke did mention in an interview that I read was that Skeanz is a little bit more of the aggressive jungle style. He was saying how the meta seems to suit him more with the Kha'Zix buffs on the most recent patch. I do wonder how much of a priority this champion will be and if it will go into Skeanz' hands. But I expect to see more of these skirmish-orientated junglers being in Skeanz' playbook.
They've got a lot of options at the moment. Interesting to see and expected, no Varus yet banned away. Went from basically 100% pick ban to now not even being in the options, but Syndra is still available, and that seems to still be quite a powerful pick, even though she received just a love tap. The Volibear, the Aphelios, the set banned away by Team Vitality. Thresh, Kalista taken away by SK Gaming. We'll see if they want to go for that Kha'Zix or whether he'll sneak through in this first pick and ban of the day.
I really think that they need to ban away the Syndra right now. Even though she has received some small enough, she's still very strong, very flexible. You would imagine that that would be the first pick unless some teams have figured out new ways to deal with the Syndra.
So I think the interesting thing to me here is Kha'Zix is really strong as well. High Elo has a 56% win rate in bot lane. And I know high Elo doesn't always equate to LEC, but maybe you're saying to Vitality, hey, you either take Kha'Zix or you take Syndra, we take the other. Instead, they go for Ezreal.
It's interesting because when I speak to a lot of the pro teams, a lot of them sit there and tell me that Kha'Zix's priority hasn't really changed.
Really?
So, yeah, like the thing is when pros say something and then what ends up happening is often very different. So, yeah, I didn't actually have huge expectations for Kha'Zix coming into week 1. I think that Twisted Fate is still very powerful. If you want to talk about champions that are quite good, Kha'Zix is someone that I think can work well into TF because he's someone that, thanks to his ultimate, can match the Twisted Fate off in a side lane without actually having to move himself. And I think the purpose of the buffs were to buff solo lane, well, laning Kha'Zix, I should say, because I've heard that he can be played in multiple different positions. But we'll have to wait and see. For now, Team Vitality gonna lock in that Ezreal as the priority. The Yuumi actually coming in from SK's side to try and deny that Ezreal-Yuumi duo. But we're going to get to see Labrov's Bard again. His last performance on this, well, when we saw him play against Origin, he had a fantastic Bard performance. And he's a really talented Bard player, so I'm excited to see. Oh, we're gonna get the Twitch! Man, we're gonna get Yuumi Twitch!
Yuumi Twitch?
It's actually locked in. Okay, this is awesome.
Okay,
so
that's really cool.
I had the opportunity to talk to Crownshot about this Twitch. He tells me that he's been playing it a lot. It's actually his most played champion in solo queue. It's one of his favorites. And the thing is, when you pair it with Yuumi, you are very fast, you're invisible, you can show up in a side lane. Like,
you ever get jumped on, it's just heals.
It's really crazy what the combo can do. Laning phase can be a little bit weak, but I'm sure Crownshot is prepared. So I'm really excited to see this lane matchup. Now we are moving into the second phase. Nocturne getting banned off the board. Clearly being, I mean, so...
They heard you were casting, they're like, you can't have it.
I joke, But Nocturne is a great counter to TF in the mid lane, but I imagine that it could be jungle. He did receive a couple of changes in the jungle, and we've even seen it from Fnatic come out in the jungle, and I'm pretty sure that Skeanz does play a decent amount of Nocturne jungle himself. So definitely a little bit more of a targeted ban, and the second targeted ban in the form of the Scion. Not really that surprising when playing up against a Cabochard as well. The Camille ban is a little interesting. Definitely a bit of a shift compared to what we typically see, but the Trundle, I think, is just a very staple, solid meta pick that we often see. But very rarely would you often see junglers move into the second half of the pick and ban medic. The fact that we've already got our bot laners and mid laners locked in is a bit of a shift compared to what we were seeing in the first half of the split.
And whenever you look at the second part of pick and ban, you have to think about what do these compositions need. SK Gaming have some good roam potential from their jungler. They have a very strong AD carry later on, and they're going to team it up with a bit of a dive threat, a bit of an assassination threat here in that Kha'Zix. Trix has played it before. In fact, I remember a lot of highlight reels when he was on G2, I believe, him playing a Kha'Zix, but SK Gaming will need something to round out that comp. I don't really see any hard CC there apart from the final chapter and the wild cards. Vitality going to get Skeanz his Lee Sin, and we'll round out their comp with a top laner here. I think an Ornn would be pretty nice.
Yes, I think Ornn would make... Yeah, I was literally just thinking right now the problem with Vitality's comp is that it has no frontline at all. So doing things like the Baron is very difficult. Actually getting an engage off is very difficult. So I think the Ornn rounds things out nicely. SK, if they go for the Sylas here, I think that it's a very common LCK answer to the Ornn, because the Sylas can steal away the Ornn's ultimate. You actually do very well during the laning phase. But again, you look at SK's comp, very squishy medic.
Yeah.
There is no real front line. There's a decent amount of magic damage because you have the Yuumi, the Twisted Fate, and the Sylas, but it's a very interesting comp because it's not traditional. You don't have that very classic front to back. There's a lot of mobility in the form of the fact that Kha'Zix can jump around. There's the Twisted Fate ultimate can move you all around the map. The Sylas has a bunch of dashes. Twitch can go invisible. Like, it's a very sneaky, surprising comp that's very much about looking for picks, attacking side lanes, going for skirmishes. And I feel like getting ahead in the early game is much more important for SK than it is for Vitality, who have a lot more of a traditional comp that we saw a lot more of in the first half of the split with the, you have a solid front line in the form of the Ornn, you have ways to engage with both the Bard and the Ornn, you have disengage so you can keep your ranged backline very safe, consistently throwing out a lot of poke. So I think the SK have drafted a comp that they don't typically play, and it's going to be difficult to execute, but I'm very excited to see it on the Rift today.
And on to Summoner's Rift we go. A verdant garden of, well, probably going to be quite a lot of bloodshed over the next couple of minutes. Crownshot here is going to try and get his ambush in. Of course, invisible alongside the Yuumi, but a good early ward here from Vitality will spot out SK as they go for the invade. And as Crownshot announces that he was hiding, he also has to retreat back into his own jungle.
So nothing too crazy going to happen. You'll notice that there is this little ward sitting just outside the red buff to cover any potential invades, because when SK are setting up for a play on the bot side of the map, if they do get spotted, a very common answer from Vitality would have likely to have been to try and get some deep vision in on the top side of the map. But by using this ward, they're able to get that information, and now SK know that, hey, we're actually pretty safe up on the top side. So Trick going to be starting off on his red buff, going to be looking to path towards bot. Maybe he wants to try and cover Crownshot limit because there is the risk of them getting pushed in. And that's kind of what I expect. I'll be honest, I haven't seen a huge amount of Twitch myself. So I would just imagine that in this 2 versus 2, Comp and Labrov should have the push. They should have a lot more poke. They should be a lot more threatening and obnoxious. And you can see that with all these little heals in the background, they also have a decent amount of sustain. And because Twitch doesn't trade very well in the early laning phase, you typically just have to concede a lot of that early game pressure, and what the laning phase often looks like is a matter of surviving. And that's one of the things you have to be careful of, is early dives. How possible is it? How realistic is it? And I think that with a Bard Ezreal, it's not the easiest, but once Bard hits level 6, you do have that ultimate, and the risk of a potential dive is very real.
Of course, you can get rid of some of the power of the binding from the Bard, because if If Limit is sitting on Crownshot, you don't have 2 targets to hit. You have to try and aim it into a wall or something like that. Of course, as Limit jumps back, you can make the catch. And traditionally, it has been SK who look for those early ganks, who look for those early plays down towards the bottom side. Trick has been trying to get Crownshot ahead so regularly because he has been a key carry for this team. And SK, if they don't get ahead in the early game, not only in this game, but generally, or they don't tend to win. They, on average, if they're behind at the 15-minute mark, they are behind for the rest of the game, Vedius.
Yeah, and I think that that's true for what we see from SK, but also in the current meta. Early game is very important, especially when you consider how it's fascinating, because when we came into the split, a lot of our conversation was we're going to see more team fighting, we're going to see scaling comps. But then you look at our average game time, and it's actually way faster than it was last split.
It's like a minute faster than it was last split.
And then if you get a 2K gold lead at 15 minutes in the LEC, 100% win rate. So
it's crazy.
Early game leads are actually super important right now in a meta where we actually see a lot more like of the traditional scaling compositions. But I think that for SK, what's really important about the way in which they approach the game and what you were talking about, Medic, is that I think they found a lot of success with a very specific style, which was that classic front-to-back team fight. I think that when they could enable Crownshot and rely on him to be that primary carry, that main damage dealer, that is when SK were able to create upsets and find success. But when they're not able to do that, they've often struggled. And I think that by going for these more complicated compositions like they have right now, where they have win conditions where they have to get ahead early, this is where things become harder. Has a nice sidestep there from Skeanz. Sorry, from ZaZee rather, to avoid the gank from Skeanz. But yeah, I think this puts a lot of pressure on them to be able to be proactive, and it'll be a different shade of SK that we don't typically see. And Trick is now making his way towards the bot lane. So he's done a full clear from top all the way to bot. He's now going to sneak in to the bot lane. You can see that there is no vision, so Vitality won't see this. And this is both to look for a gank, but also to cover.
Exhaust.
See a bit of trading.
Yeah, it's going to go down on Comp. Labrov's going to get jumped on here, misses the Cosmic Binding, has to flash away. Both summoners burnt there by Labrov, and Trick gets exactly what he wanted out of that.
So in a situation like this...
I only just noticed it's Ignite on the Twitch. Because you have, because you have heal exhaust on the Yuumi. Yeah, I forgot about the fact that Yuumi has 2 summoners.
No. It's also like, I would say that that's even uncommon for AD carries anyway. Yeah. But the reason why is because he's going to be Assassin Twitch later on, which we'll get to talk about as we get into the game a little bit more. But what happened there was Comp and Labrov pushed in very early. They used the early prio to have the wave bounce back towards them. And what that does is it forces Crownshot and Limit to overextend. So that's when they're most vulnerable to gank. So Trick took a path that enabled him to cover both Crownshot and Limit as they were getting that push in, so that in the event they were ganked, they could counter gank, or at the very least, they could just feel safe and comfortable pushing that wave all the way underneath the tower. So they get themselves a reset. They also get the summoners out from Labrov, which is a really good situation for SK to be in. And when we look at the CS differences, you can actually see that very even in the bot lane, which is exactly where a Twitch wants to be.
Yeah, your laning phase is never your strong suit, but we will see Labrov starting to get out of that lane himself. He's looking to get up towards the river, just getting a control ward in. Bard, of course, one of the best roamers in the game from support. So you get those magical Germany, and then the chimes as well can just speed you up a little bit. But Wave once again is going to push towards a Crownshot here, and he'll happily eat up all that farm. Now with ZaZee getting towards level 6, those wards were actually perfectly placed by Labrov in terms of timing. ZaZee not aware he's just been spotted on a control ward. Will back away.
Yeah, and I just wanted to bring up the mini-map there because the moment he hits 6, ZaZee immediately moves into the river and he's like, can I look for a gank here? The wave is in a really good state bot lane. I think I could actually look for an opportunity, but due to that control ward spawning things out, no play is going to be happening. Comp also going to use this opportunity to get a quick reset in, restock on some health pots, some vision. I think he also grabbed the mana crystal there as well. And Skeanz probably going to clear out this control ward too, which is going to make things... Well, at least I want to see him clear it out, because I think that it makes it a lot harder for ZaZee to look for roams if they don't have that control of it.
Give the go to Milica. You might as well. He's going to come across as well, and he will get that control ward. Skeanz making sure that he gets the Scuttle Crab to keep up that pace in the jungle. 40 farm on both the junglers right now, and Trick is getting up towards that level 6. Of course, so powerful on a Kha'Zix because of all the evolutions you get, because of the invisibility you get, as well as you look to get that Void Assault into fights. And I really want to see what he does with it, because you have quite powerful bot lane. The lockdown from the final chapter and the ambush to get you in position is really strong. You have quite a powerful top lane because the Sylas, of course, is Sylas and he can steal any ult he wants. And if Trick can look for a gank and keep Crownshot scaling up, SK can kind of play to their traditional win condition, which is having an AD carry who is ahead and who can team fight well, but then of course their team fights will play a little bit differently to how we usually see them.
I think, you know, we talked a little bit about how I think SK do need to get ahead early, but ooh, we might not have time for that because we can see both junglers kind of hovering around the Drake right now. Trick is a level behind Skeanz, but Limited Crownshot have the push in bot lane. The trading going back and forth. Oh, Crownshot actually getting a very favorable trade. So if they wanted to do Drake, they could. The only risk that they run is that Milica does have priority in the middle lane, but Skeanz is going to reset. So nothing too massive going to come off the back of that. SK will secure themselves the first Drake of the game. So I kind of wanted to go back to what we were talking about, Medic, when it came to scaling, because sure, I think that when it comes to straight up team fighting, I think the Vitality do have an edge, but things get a little bit more complicated when you look at Sylas and Twitch Yuumi specifically as a champion. These obviously scale extremely well, right? And in the late game, one of Sylas's greatest assets is that he can basically do more damage than an Ornn while also being able to offer the same team fight utility as an Ornn can, because he has the stun, he has his ultimate, and he can steal away a bunch of different stuff to basically create all kinds of chaos in the team fight. So SK definitely have scaling tools and they have scaling options. And that's kind of like what I'm going to be looking for more later into the game, because my expectations are that what will happen is Jenax is just going to sit in a lane, right? And he's going to either look like he's overextended or he's going to look like he's going for a fight, and then all of a sudden Twitch appears along with a Twisted Fate.
It's
and
the
all
Invisible Ninjas comp.
Exactly. You just show up and then you gank. And the scary thing for Vitality is it's almost impossible for them to ever go to a side lane because Twitch could just show up anywhere. And because of the Yuumi being added on top of that, you're just so fast that it's incredibly obnoxious and you're never safe. So I think that's one of the scariest late game aspects of this Twitch. And what's super interesting is he is going for what looks to be the mana mune. So we are going to see the more mana itemization coming from the Twitch. And for those that may not have seen any Twitches recently or like Twitch period.
I mean, it's been a while since we've seen this guy played a lot.
This is like the go-to build at the current, in the current meta.
Yeah, getting a Mana Mune, obviously with Presence of Mind, just gives you a lot of extra damage. It's very gold efficient as you get that extra mana, and he's stacking it up as quickly as possible.
You also just rip in team fights with the ultimate stack with that, and you'll also get some crit itemization later on. But also, like, to kind of tie back to the Ignite point that you made earlier, Medic, that's also why you see, because he's going to be playing Assassin Twitch later and like looking to catch people out, that's where the Ignite becomes very valuable, because he can just pop that and then look to assassinate.
It almost sounds like a TFT game, right? It's like, oh, do I want an Assassin Twitch? Do I want a tank Twitch? Put my Warmogs on him, we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
but here we're going for the Assassin Twitch. Mana Mune stacking up for him. He's got about a 9 CS gold lead. Crownshot is slightly ahead. The rest of the game, very even so far. Really only that Ocean Dragon for SK and about a 300 gold lead. But Vitality are trying to get control over this bottom side river once again.
Yeah, I do like that Vitality are putting a lot of their emphasis on maintaining bot side control, and now they're looking for a gank.
But the ambush, you can't see him. You can't hit what you can't see, and the final chapter comes out. ZaZee coming in with the Destiny, and here at the teleports, we're going to see a fight. Vedius is taking us 10 minutes, but here we go. Tempered Fate too late there from Labrov as he goes down for the first kill of the game. And here comes the call of the Forge God, but Jenax in a really good position, has an ult, and he's going to jump in. Look at a dive onto ZaZee as well. Milica's going to go down. The chase onto Skeanz. Cabo just about able to get away from the edge of the ambush, but the wild cards find the heart of Vitality. 3 kills to SK.
And 3 quick kills go in the favor of SK. And I was just thinking to myself, Medic, we haven't seen a TF ultimate in a while. I'm worried for SK because they're actually not making use of this TF roaming power, but then it's actually Vitality that look to get the collapse on Crownshot, and the idea is good. But look at the response here from SK. Immediate ultimate from the TF who gets here before the teleport from Milica. Then you have Jenax TPing at exactly the same time. Basically, SK were ready to respond that much sooner. Then Cabochard has his ultimate looking to disengage, but then Jenax does the same thing, and look at this 2-man ulti that he gets onto both the Ornn and Milica, which then sets up the stun. Trick can then follow up. That's where they get the second kill, who crucially went onto Crownshot, and then SK get that final kill on the back end. So the carries are getting kills. You can see the gold now. Crownshot has a 1k gold lead. That Assassin Twitch is already in a fantastic position, and this was the early game play we needed to see from SK. The fact that Vitality started it is, you know, they wanted to try and get that lead. They wanted to put SK behind, but the response here from SK was just so swift and so effective.
And just to reiterate how important it is for SK to get a lead, they only win when they're ahead at the 15-minute mark. They never have won when they've been behind. Later on today, of course, they have some very good matches, so make sure you stay tuned. But I'll show you exactly what I mean here. You can see Crownshot, when SK win, he has a 1,600 gold lead. SK have a 2,500 gold lead. When they lose, Crownshot's only a small amount behind, but SK as a team tend to be about 3,000 gold behind. So you can see a lot of the gold in the early game tends to be given to Crownshot to facilitate his ability to carry in team fights later on.
So basically, it's all or nothing on Crownshot.
Yeah. And at the moment, I'm going all. He's got 2 kills. He's got
also,
CS lead.
Medic, remember, 2k gold lead at 15 minutes, 100% win rate. And Crownshot, he's looking to keep that stat true.
Comp is able to jump across the wall here. The final chapter not going to be able to chase, but here we go as Trick jumps in. Comp with the exhaust. Comp still surviving, and Trick went a little bit too deep there. Skeanz was there for the kill. Lands the resonating strike onto limit, but isn't going to chase that one up.
So Trick commits a little too hard there with a quick exhaust that comes out from Labrov that actually stops the assassination of his AD carry, and he's able to walk away scot-free, meaning that SK, they don't get themselves a kill, but Vitality will be able to answer something back. And the fact that they will secure this Drake means that that 4 Drake win condition is a little delayed from the side of SK, and Vitality a definitely much needed win, but now they're stuck in the pit.
I mean, Skeanz could jump out. Labrov doesn't have a way out, but SK have decided, no, we'll let him sing another tune. Leave the bard in the pit.
I mean, they should have known that he doesn't have flash, and they definitely should have punished him.
Here is my only thought. Maybe they thought the magical journey went all the way through the dragon pit.
Maybe.
Maybe.
All right, so let's have a look here. Crownshot. This is what we're going to be seeing a lot more of this game, where you just use that stealth to come into lane, and it's why it's just so scary, because Comp immediately just has to flash out because he knows he's going to get locked in, and this is where we see that overcommitment from Trick. And if he hadn't been exhausted, there's a good chance that he gets that kill onto Comp, but yeah, good play there from Labrov to keep his AD carry alive.
I will say, I don't think I've seen such a holistic view of Summoner's Rift in a long time. That was pretty pog stuff there from our observers. Good job, guys. Itemization is starting to come through here for Vitality. You've got the Nash's Tooth Complete, the Manamune and the Sheen on Comp, Abyssal Mask on Cabochard. But then on the other side of things, ZaZee does have his Rod of Ages stacking up, and he's going towards possibly Trinity Force, possibly Lich Bane second on this Twisted Fate.
That's kind of what I'm expecting, Medic. I think that just getting that early Lich Bane is really valuable, especially when you're already rolling 1-0-2 right now, but involved in every single kill. So I think that's pretty cool. We also see the Hextech GLP for Jenax just being completed, adding a little bit more utility to his kit, not going for the more damage-orientated route with the Proto Belt that we sometimes see. Or you maybe end up building that a little bit later. We'll have to wait and see. But I think a lot of these itemizations are like very big spikes, and you can already see SK starting to roam around the map. ZaZee has his ultimate up and available. The Rift Herald is now alive. And the thing that we haven't really spoken about is that Trick also has invisibility, can also leap onto your face. And so this is where Vitality have to start playing a lot more cautious. Vision is extremely important. And Medic, we actually know that Vitality has some of the best vision that we have in our league.
Well, usually we focus on it around when they're taking Baron, but across the board, Vitality are just really good at getting vision and then getting opponent's vision off the map. They have a 1.6 control ward a minute placement on average, and that means that they're first in the league for that, but also their vision score is the highest in the league. Part of that is because they like to set up around Barons later on, they like to clear out a lot of vision, but also because Labrov is really good at teaming up with, well, it was NG, and making sure they get vision across the jungle.
But when you only have to look at the minimap to have a look at this vision setup, you can see that there are wards littered literally everywhere. They've got a bit of vision over this side, they've got some wards over around the bot side. Obviously, they were committing towards this bot tower as well, but they invested a lot towards making sure, and I really like this little ward here as well, because they're recognizing, okay, Twitch could sit in this brush, look for a pick, want to make sure that I have some information there, but it's the fact that they've done their best to stop ZaZee from roaming to bot lane, which I think they actually did a really great job of early on in the game. And then, of course, unfortunately, that play that they tried to make ended up being countered by a very quick response from SK. But I think that vision control so far this game has been good, and control wards this game are very important when playing against these kind of champions.
Oh, definitely. You just need to make sure that you have as much awareness of where everyone is as possible. Trick here has snuck in on a control ward, and he's invisible. Milica doesn't know, and Milica goes in. Trick going to go in there with the final chapter, and goodbye Azir. Taken out in a heartbeat. The Core of the Forge got popped by Cabochard, but Trick once again can just run away with that invisibility. And you can see how deadly it can be there, because Milica had no idea that Trick was on its way.
This combo's annoying, Medic.
Just add an Evelyn in, take the Kha'Zix mid lane, in which they want more invisibility as Jenax caught out just a tad, but Skeanz and Labrov will not be able to find their map.
These are the type of comps where my KDA gets ruined in solo queue, because
just play behind, just play safe, Vedi.
There's no such thing as just playing safe. Milica had his support there.
He went in. He could have not gone in, Vedi.
Yeah. Just never make a play,
exactly.
Because they might be there. But look, Milica's positioning, he's not egregious here. He's like, oh, I'm just getting a bit of poke. Okay, I admit, yeah, okay. He does go in for a play there, and that's the moment that SK strike. So he just shouldn't do that, I guess. Fair enough. But yeah, that's what you always have to be very careful of, because every time you try to make a play, it's very easy for SK to just show up unannounced because of the ability, not only their mobility, but the fact that they have all these invisible tools as well to just overall be very obnoxious.
It's just so difficult for Vitality to know what is going on. Labrov's going to try and chase Jenax here. Comp coming through the magical journey as well, but Jenax steals away the Temper Fate. Pop that bad boy. Give yourself a little bit of gold, give yourself a little bit of time, but in fact he catches Skeanz and Cabochard, and Comp tanks up the tower because of that. The GLP will get some slows down, and Jenax will escape alive.
Now, that one's actually really well played by Jenax. That's going to delay Vitality from securing that top tower, giving SK a bit of a tempo advantage, allowing them to move around the map. First, you can see that they're actually pushing and committing to this tier 2 in the bot tower, so thanks to that play from Jenax, SK is actually getting a lot from it, largely because Vitality will not be getting a kill on the other side. So very crucial. This can also allow SK to secure the Drake, which they're going to jump onto right now. And we will, of course, be having that Cloud Soul as I remove that circle from your screen.
Hey, Twitch chat was going crazy for that circle. Bring back the circle. That's what they're going to be spamming for the next little while. But I want to come back to some of the discussions that we had in draft here, Vedius, just about like the expectation as we develop through the game. Because when I look at a front-to-back team fight, I always think of it as like they should just get stronger as the game goes on. And we said SK need to get some early wins. They're about 2,000 gold ahead now. But the discrepancy between the two teams doesn't feel so great to me yet that SK can win out in those 5v5s.
Well,
I might be.
I mean, it's difficult to say because the things that I look at when comparing things like straight up team fight value is number one, mid laners. Sure. Mid laners are extremely important in the current meta. As again, I removed that other circle.
Bring back the circle.
The circle's persistent. I'll tell you that. So Azir versus Twisted Fate in a typical team fight, like Azir's going to out DPS the Twisted Fate pretty significantly, right?
Yep.
But Twitch should out DPS that Ezreal. Ooh, as we see a good pick here. Oh, but the Bard ultimate actually catches ZaZee too.
I think ZaZee's still pretty dead here.
Pretty dead, yeah.
Not really much he could do.
So you can see, and I mean, like, this is the best team fight example, but when they're grouped up as 5, Vitality's comp is very strong, right? It's difficult for SK to just stop them doing what they want, because it's very easy for them to find engages, collapse on the team, and ultimately look for a fight. SK want to be finding skirmishes and picks, and right now, it is SK who are ultimately getting picked off as Vitality. I mean, I think they committed a little hard to that play, especially when there was
CP on the ward felt a little bit strong.
There was no Drake on the bot side of the map either, and if there was a Drake, then I think it would have made a little bit more sense. But yeah, we can see here ZaZee. I think this was a bit of a misplay from ZaZee because he should have recognized after witnessing the red buff being stolen that this tower doesn't belong to you anymore, and with no information on who is top or who is bot. Jenax TP'd in for a flank.
Oh, Jenax, sorry, yeah, not Skeanz. Yeah.
These circles are persistent, Medic.
Yep. Brett did give me a little word asking if it was broken, so maybe you want to have a chat with him and just see what's going on as I will fill in a little bit of time. There's a 1,000 gold lead between the two teams, two dragons sitting on SK, and it's actually Last Whisper third here for Crownshot. I was always wondering if you'd go for an Infinity Edge, because you can see Runan's Infinity Edge is really powerful on Twitch. You get a lot of damage across the board, but a Last Whisper when you're going into an Iceborne Gauntlet, a Sunfire Cape, a Ninja Tabi sitting on the Lee Sin makes a lot of sense. Crownshot early flashes there.
Yeah, he had to. He was worried that Skeanz had flash. He didn't. But, you know, the fact that Crownshot... I
mean, it's such a close timer. It's one of those, like...
It's one of those things where Crownshot definitely did the correct thing and just flashing away there. So he's going to get away with his life, but that was very close. Skeanz almost finding that pick. And you can see how Vitality have kind of wrestled back control over the map right now, because even though well, I mean, they're actually ahead in towers. They're keeping the waves pushed up. They're not really being threatened anywhere. And this Twitch is actually being kept into the mid lane right now as wave clear duty, which is not really what you want. Yeah. You want that Twitch roaming around, looking for picks, trying to attack the side lane. And Vitality are doing whatever they can to try and mitigate that. So they push out one wave, and you can see the Ezreal right now moving from bot into mid. The Azir is going to do the same thing.
Oh, here goes Trick.
Let's see if Skeanz get picked off.
There goes Skeanz. Like ships in the night, they pass each other. Trick here with the VoD Assault, gets some damage down onto Labrov, but Trick's in the middle of all of them right now. The final chapter comes out and Trick kills Labrov. A second goes down as Skeanz will fall. Milica tries to come in from the side, but SK just continue to chase. ZaZee kills Comp, and what looked like Trick being totally outmanned in this jungle has turned entirely in favor of SK. One more to the scoreboard as SK take 4 in the fight.
Well, there are those Kha'Zix buffs that we were talking about. That was pretty crazy. Yuumi plus Kha'Zix just showcasing the power of that invisibility plus cat combo. SK found a very crucial pick. Notice that they didn't commit to a full-on 5v5 there. That was literally just Trick like being sneaky and obnoxious. 3 different skirmishes
as well.
Yeah, it was just... They took advantage of the fact that Vitality were clearing out their sideways and they caught them in the rotation. So here, 3 members of Vitality are gaining vision around the top side Baron because Vitality want to set up for this Baron objective. So Trick, look, he's just being really obnoxious. He's dancing around, he's using the Yuumi ultimate, he locks up 3. Crownshot safe on the right. Trick is attacking from the left. And it's not a 5v5. This is a 3 versus 4, which SK take advantage of. Meanwhile, Comp gets picked off by ZaZee, and Milica can't really get involved in the fight because the rest of his team is dead. So just really good navigation of the fight here from SK to be able to win out and secure themselves the Baron.
And you can see Labrov is trying his hardest with the Oracle's alteration. He was like, hey, I can try and at least give you a silhouette of where this bug is going to be, where this cockroach is, so you can try and squash him. But you can't catch a Kha'Zix like that. You don't have the ability to lock him down. You can't auto-attack him. Just trying to use Mystic shots or something to get the damage down. Well played there from SK, of course. You can see Crownshot topping out damage numbers. And now with the Baron buff, they can finally look to take their 3rd turret of the game. They will retreat for the moment because there's a dragon up in 10 seconds. And they want to get towards Soul Point just that little bit quicker.
So SK in a very commanding position right now. As you rightly said, we'll look to secure this Drake. And as we kind of ease into a bit of downtime, it's also important to reinstate how important this game is for the standings. You heard Ender mention it on the analyst desk, but because of how close our standings are, as we get closer to playoffs, things like head-to-head records are going to be very important. And Vitality won their first game against SK in the first half of the split. Yep. So SK winning this one is very important because it makes them 1-1. And when you think about how close the standings are, Medic, that's going to be extremely valuable later on.
When we have 5 teams tied at 4 and 5, it's so important for you to be able to pick up these extra wins, get to a 50% win rate at least for SK if they take it. And of course, a thing that I didn't expect to say at the halfway mark of the split is one of those teams tied up there is Origin, and both these teams have already beaten Origin. So when you get towards those head-to-head records later, when you get towards those matchups later, having extra wins against opponents who are close by is just so vital, Vedius.
Yeah, and it's going to put a lot of pressure on Origin in those matchups later and give these 2 teams a little bit of safety as well. So this game is super important. A lot of our games today are going to be very important and very telling for what we can come to expect later on in the split. What this game has already showed me is that SK still willing to invest and believe a lot in Crownshot, as it looks like Comp's dead.
Yep. Can't really see what's happening, but as the Destiny comes in, he's got that Tempered Fate holding him just for the moment. Trick will sink in the claws, though, and get the kill. And they have invested in Crownshot, but they've also invested in Trick this game. It's been the Limit Trick duo that has been roaming around finding.
I feel like it's just been Yuumi plus anyone duo. The fact that you can just jump onto anyone in this team and have huge value. You can see that even after the nerfs, Yuumi posing a massive threat. I actually think he has a 100% kill participation so far. So mad props to Limit there. And SK now, even though their Baron buff has ended, looking to secure themselves another tier 2 tower.
Yeah, gonna have an 8,000 gold lead now. Vedius is snowballed up after they won that fight up towards Baron. 25 minutes in, they are in a commanding position. Here comes the call of the Forge God from Jenax. Can't even hit the Ornn. The widest of the champions that he could have been aiming for. But I do want to give credit to SK, because when we were in the draft, we were saying, you know, this isn't a conventional SK composition. This was very different from what we've seen them do. And although they still have the key carries, you know, Crownshot's still having a really good game, ZaZee's having a good one, Trick's having a good one, I'm enjoying the experimentation. And considering they had a 2-week break week, basically, from the end of week 4 to now, it's been just a good development to see them grow. Skeanz gonna hit the kick here, and Trick will be killed.
Yes. Yes, he will.
Yeah, just stayed around a little bit too long.
He was sitting in a brush. Vitality, their spidey senses were tingling. They spotted him out. And
Oracles.
Yeah, it was the Oracle. So they knew he was there. They interacted the back. They jumped over the wall. They committed a lot. That was an Ezreal ultimate, an Ornn ultimate. But he kicks him into the Ornn ultimate.
So I've seen Ender do this before. Skeanz is 3 levels down in jungle. He's like, no matter what, this guy's out jungled me this entire game, I'm gonna kick him in the face. I'm gonna take him down at least once before we lose the game.
Yeah, I mean, worth, you know,
Yep.
got the kill.
Jungle diff.
And the game's not quite over yet. I think that if Vitality could get a good team fight, then it's very possible. That the problem is that Crownshot's hella fed.
Yep.
Like, woo, that's a scary little rat-cat combo.
Yep. Cat-rat. Rat-cat. I've been working them both in my head, and I'm not sure which one I prefer more.
It's
but
the
you can
rat-a-tat-tat-cat.
The Ratacat-cat. Ratacat-tat-cat.
The
Ratacat-tat-cat.
Wait, was it Rat-a-tat-tat?
Rat-a-tat-tat is the name of the ultimate.
No, it's Spray and Pray
yeah,
now. Because it was Spray and Pray.
Yes.
They changed it to Rat-a-tat-tat. We got very upset.
I'm sorry.
We changed it back to Spray and Pray.
I'm so sorry, Vedius, please.
It was a very that bothered me a lot.
It bothered me too, because Rat-a-tat-tat isn't as good to say as
But now it's Rat-a-cat-tat.
Ratacat-tat.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you're dead. That's
Rat-a-cat-tat-splat.
Rat-a-cat-tat-splat. Okay, you got to get into the next fight now.
Here we go.
Rat-a-cat.
You talk until that moment happens, and then I'll do it. Okay, I'm ready.
All right, okay. What he's looking for? Oh, but there's no cat, so it doesn't count. Oh, but Trick lying in wait. They go in, they kick him!
Oh, Rat-a-tat-cat splat! He just isn't quite died yet as the tempo. Crownshot goes golden for the moment. Here goes the cat, he's on him. Crownshot is being healed up. Rat-a-tat-tat splat! He gets comp, that's one, but the fight is actually going in favor of Vitality now as Milica goes in, gets another 4v2. ZaZee and Jenax trying to defend, but here comes the call of the Forge God. Cabochard isn't done with this yet, but the rest of his team seems to be, as they have walked off to the back of the fight.
Well, we did talk about it. Vitality could still hold their ground in this game if they can just get one good team fight off, and they were able to start this team fight by finding a crucial pick onto Crownshot.
Pinging Baron.
It was he who was left in the mid lane. He was not in a position to get out of there, and while it almost looked like they were able to turn it around, Vitality still won the fight. Now they have their eyes set on the Baron. They're going to be able to secure this before SK can be in position. Now, ZaZee does have Unseal Spellbook, but I'm not sure if he can swap it to... Yeah, it looks like he's not even going to try anyway. Their eyes are straight towards the Drake Soul instead, yep.
Going to try and get that Cloud Drake. Not always the most impactful soul to have, the Cloud Soul, but it will help out SK just a tad here. Vitality might decide to come across and try and deal with this. There's still 5,000 HP on it, and SK will not be able to take it in time, but here comes the Cockroach Cat.
What ults are available? So Milica has it, Skeanz has it. There's a lot actually up on the side of Vitality, and all of SKs are up. So
I think the big one is Call of the Forge God isn't up, right?
But Jenax has it, so he can actually start the fight off, and Crownshot is looking for a flank.
That's the shortest destiny I've ever seen, but perhaps it is good for SK. Reposition for ZaZee into the river. Here comes Crownshot across the wall as well with the Blast Cone. Vitality trying to pick away. Comp trying to land those mystic shots. Here comes the Call of the Forge God. The Dragon is the target. It's taken by Skeanz. He gets the kick. He gets away, but the GLP, the Frozen Hose, will find the kill in the end. Labrov able to escape up towards the top side of this fight. Ends up being a 1-for-0 in favor of SK, but they lost out on the soul. Trick healed up with the zoomies. And I don't think SK will be able to find anything more out of this fight.
So you can see in a situation like that, it's still very difficult for SK to just straight up find an easy fight. But let's have a look back at this earlier. Crownshot gets collapsed upon by a lot of dashes. Beautiful kick coming in from Skeanz and making that play happen. They buy a lot of time for Crownshot, but it's not enough. He ends up going down after all that commitment. And of course, this is what we were talking about, when it's just straight up 5v5 and everyone's bundled up like that, the squishy comp of SK just can't handle the consistent DPS that comes out from the side of Vitality, especially when Crownshot is the one being melted right off the get-go. So really well played fight there from Vitality, and you can see how powerful this Azir really can be if given the space to work his magic.
I mean, he's level 17 Azir, right? He's sitting in such a strong position.
Death Cap as well. I think it's the Death Crown now.
I believe he's upgraded it. And the Leandries, the Nash's Tooth. Do want to mention that Crownshot, I believe, had a GA a moment ago. It looks like he's sold that and now has gone Infinity Edge as his 4th item. Because he had the stopwatch, he upgraded it into GA, and I'm pretty sure he's just sold it and now gone for that Infinity Edge. So we will rattle out the damage in this next fight, but at the moment it looks like SK are willing just to hold Vitality at bay. They still have a 5,000 gold lead, although that's been gnawed away at by Vitality in the last little while. And with Baron buffs expiring relatively soon, Vitality haven't got as much out of this as perhaps they would have liked.
I think what Vitality wanted was to stabilize the game a little bit more, because after SK found a bunch of picks and were in a position to secure the Cloud Soul, like, the game was basically doomed.
Sure.
So Vitality needed to find a good fight where they can stabilize, and now the purpose of the Baron has been to, even though there is a 5k gold deficit, it doesn't feel like that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because we can see the clear strengths of Vitality's comp, and they are going to use that Baron to try and secure another objective, and SK is just kind of forced to group because it's not easy for them to threaten something like a tier 3 tower and an inhibitor given the current map state. So Vitality just kind of brute forcing their way into SK's comp and saying, come on, come fight us, group up, no more splitting up on the map. And it's that setup. It's the next Drake, it's going to be the next Baron, where SK is going to look to try and find these picks, try and catch Vitality out, whereas Vitality is just going to try and stay as that 5-man group and try and force these fights.
But you can see Vitality doing something we praised them for right at the start of the game. Vision control. They have all of these extra wards. Trick's invisibility only lasts for so long, right? He can only dodge through this vision for so long before he'll be spotted out. So expect them to reset, restock up on wards, and then try and gain control down towards this dragon, because that's up in 2 minutes. Baron actually very close by it as well.
Just trying to remember if Kha'Zix's ultimate is camouflage or invisibility.
So both Twitch and Kha'Zix can't be spotted by control wards.
Sure?
I'm like 99% sure.
See, because now I can't remember the difference between Kha'Zix and camouflage, and now I'm stressing, medic.
Okay, well, you stress. I'll do some Googling.
No, so, because I know for a fact that camouflage, right, that's, if you're within a certain range, you can see them, right? Whereas invisibility, it doesn't matter what range you're in. Okay, so Evelyn has camouflage, Twitch has camouflage, and I was...
No, Kha'Zix is invisibility.
Yes, so he's invisibility.
You could tell. Oh, Ender's here. Ender, get on the mic.
He's...
Yeah, Twitch is camouflage, Kha'Zix is invisibility. But control ward doesn't spot any of them.
That's what I thought. Okay. Wait, no, he just said camouflage can be spotted by control wards.
Did he? Okay, I'm incorrect. The sun card
I knew there was a difference.
This is why we have Ender around. He knows these things. Trick's going in with his invisibility. The final chapter coming out. Not really hitting too many people right now, but Crownshot's already got onto Labrov. And Cabochard on the front line is dead as well. Crownshot just opens up with the rat-a-tat-tat. And it takes 2 kills really quickly, and now it's on Vitality to try and defend in a 3v5.
Crownshot with the spray and pray does melt through the entire team, but honestly, it was the ultimate from Jenax that really sealed the deal, because it landed onto so many members and it gave Crownshot so much space to actually find the fight that he needed to be able to melt through the entire Vitality lineup. This does mean that they will be able to secure themselves an inhibitor, but the Cloud is going to be spawning in about 30 seconds and Baron in about 46. So SK can't actually secure this objective just yet. And they're going to be both looking to reset.
Okay. Do we have a moment here, right?
No, we don't.
Okay.
I'm actually waiting for the replay to come up in a second.
Okay.
So I wanted to... And Crownshot is invisible right now. He does have Limit sitting on top of him.
Okay.
I actually thought he would try and force a pick there. Because, like, notice that his ultimate cooldown is on a very short I say cooldown twice. The cooldown of Crownshot's ultimate is very low. The Cloud Soul is now being put up as a threat.
It's going to get taken. Trick has it before they can even get there. They didn't really expect Jenax and Trick just to take it by themselves, but Vitality were unable to answer. However, with this shortest magical journey in the history of the world, hopefully it's not a toll road, they are now going to go over towards the Baron.
Okay, yeah. And unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get a replay of that last fight, but it does mean that we can look at this setup for Baron, which going to be started off by Vitality. All the ultimates are available for SK. Jenax, let's see whose ultimate he can steal.
Look how far away Trick is.
They're melting it right now.
ZaZee, do you have Smite? He doesn't. The stun card comes in, but already the Dragon has been taken, and the Baron has been taken, and SK might look for a fight, but that magical journey is going to get all 5 of them. They now can flank Trick. They can just jump on him. He's all by himself.
They're trying to just stop the recalls, I think.
Stop the backs. The alcove gaming is going to come out.
This.
Vitality, here we go. Big fight. SK looking to try and catch out Vitality. Vitality got stunned up. Crownshot goes on a rampage. There's 2 for him. Cabochard chased off as well. Comp and Labrov running away, but the stun card lands, and Comp is done for. Jenax takes him. Cabochard taken out for the 3rd kill of the fight for Crownshot, and only Labrov can walk away.
So the problem for Vitality was that they clumped up into a small space where Crownshot could just melt through all 5 of them. He did so much damage in that final team fight, and with only Labrov alive, SK, they should be able to end the game right here, right now. It was pretty back and forth, Unfortunately for Labrov, he will not be able to get away. SK looking to secure themselves first win in the second half of the split.
Well, it was Vitality that started SK's 3-game losing streak in week 3, and now SK strike back at Vitality and start the second half of the split with a win.
It was a cool comp from SK. I liked seeing it. I think that we got to see how powerful Twitch can be in the late game, but of course very squishy, very susceptible. Positioning is very important. And while I think that in the later stages I was kind of expecting more of a pick style play from SK, and I think it ended up just being a lot of fights back to back, and basically whoever got to start the fight basically ended up winning it, right? But it was SK that ended up finding a lot of those successful fights in the end, and yeah, it makes you wonder now what other things Yuumi can be paired up with, because like the Yuumi plus Kha'Zix was really devastating at finding picks in the mid game. The Yuumi plus the Twitch is just so devastating, because I think what's interesting about it in team fights is you try to get onto the Twitch, and then
like,
the Yuumi ultimate, exactly, and so you just get locked up, and now you're just stuck there in a line while this rat is just shooting you in the face. So I think that it's a really powerful combo. I hope we get to see more of it. It's definitely a Crownshot special, but yeah, definitely a scary stuff coming out from SK, and a very big win for them.
Definitely was. You can vote for your key player of the game, by the way, at LEC on Twitter. Trick, Crownshot, and Limit are your options. But coming up next, we'll see if Rogue can move up to first place. So they take on Schalke Null Fear.
Charged up. Hello, everybody. Let the game begin.
Wave. You can see the Ezreal right now moving from bot into mid. The Azir is going to do the same.
welcome back to the Becco Live Like a Pro interview. I'm Drakos, joined by none other than Rogue's Finn, ahead of their game versus Schalke today. But as exciting as that match versus Schalke is, Finn, I gotta know, it's been 2 weeks, basically, since we've seen you guys last on stage. We've heard some teams are, going on vacation, they're relaxing a bit. Some teams are kind of putting their nose to the grindstone and try hard practicing all week. How did you guys at Rogue spend that break week?
What we did was just we took a couple of days off here in Berlin. We just did whatever you wanted. People just chilled. People maybe still played solo queue. Just did whatever they wanted to, with like no obligations or anything. But we were pretty fast at coming back into practicing, and yeah, we just practiced hard, I think.
What does a break look like for you specifically? Because I think that like we've all heard about like, scrim schedules, the try-harding, but I don't think we hear nearly as much about the break and the off time and kind of how pro players spend the off time. So what does a break look like for you? Are you one of those guys still grinding solo queue? Or are you out there experiencing, oh, well, I mean, it's COVID, so you can't really experience the Berlin nightlife. Are you like, what are you doing during this time?
No, I mean, I still play a lot of solo queue during the break. It's kind of engraved into my brain at this point that it just feels natural to me that I just want to keep playing. Sometimes I'll spend time with friends and family if I'm home, but a lot of the time I'm just playing, or maybe just taking a bit more relaxed approach, maybe watching some series or just spending the time without really a schedule.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds very nice because I know the pro player schedule can be very grueling, but I like that you're die hard. It's all about League of Legends all the time. It sounds like there's not a day without League of Legends in your life. So I want to ask you a little bit about kind of the second half of the split. You guys are in a very comfortable position right now, 7-2, looking set to make playoffs. I don't think a single team has missed playoffs with 9 wins yet in LEC history. So talk to me a little bit about your attitude and your approach coming into the second half of the split.
I think coming into the second half of the split, it's really important for us to stay hungry and stay not get too complacent, because we just want to keep winning as many games as we can, not losing, not dropping games to lower seeded teams. I think is very important, because now that the seeding matters so much more in the playoff system, I think if we could end the spot at number 1, it would be the best for us. So we're just gonna keep working hard.
Yeah, number 1, of course, hugely important. Looking even further ahead, I know you're trying to keep your head down. I know you're not trying to get like too ahead of yourself, not trying to get a big ego, but I do want to know about Worlds. Rogue, a team that has not had that opportunity yet. Europe's getting 4 seeds this time around. I'm curious how you're feeling about it. Is that the goal at the end of the split for Rogue, or are you guys still eyes set on the title?
I think for us, the most important thing is making Worlds, and we're just gonna obviously making it as the first seed is even better. So I think the main goal for us is just to win every game we can, and eventually we're going to reach Worlds that way.
What does improvement look like week to week to achieve that goal, to reach Worlds, to try to hit towards that first seed? Because it seems like right now you guys are on top of the world. You went 2-2 against a lot of the perceived top teams, G2, Fnatic, OG, Mad Lions, to name them. And now coming into the second half, are you just worried about matching up against those top teams, about trying to kind of overcome the struggles that you had in the first half of the split versus some of those teams, like the G2 loss? What is the actual focus week to week for you guys on Rogue?
I think just staying ahead of the meta is very important. The game is ever changing, and every 2 weeks there's a new patch, so it's very easy to fall behind if you just keep playing the same champions. So we always need to think what could be good, what could not work, and how different champions going up and down in the priority will affect the other champions, because it's a bit of a chain reaction at times. So not falling behind in the meta and always being flexible and quick to adapt, I think it's our number 1 priority right now.
All right, then look, as a final question, you're a man who's been known recently for the Ornn and the GP, but you have gotten a little wild at times. We have seen the Alawi. We've seen you branch out. Is second half Finn, are you the weak side top laner? Are you the role player on Rogue? Or do we get to see you evolve in the meta and show us more of these, let's say, top lane focus kind of picks?
I mean, you won't really know what you'll see. Maybe I'll bring out the Alawi again. Maybe I'll bring out the Kled, the Aatrox. I think there's a lot of champions that used to be very comfortable for me that I can always play whenever I want to. But I think right now the game is in a state where if I do my job as a weak side top laner, it's very easy for the game to win, especially if I can even get a lead 1v1. So I don't know. We'll find out.
All right, I respect it. Don't give anything away. Well, as strong as weak side top laners are, I hope we get to see an Alawi or a Kled or an Aatrox, something a little bit more explosive on the top side of the map. But in the meantime, good luck to you, Finn, in the upcoming matchup versus Schalke. And of course, good luck in the second half of the split. This has been your Becco Live Like a Pro interview. When we return, it's Schalke No Fear versus Rogue for our second match of the day.
Thank you very much.